OGAccountability.com.
You got a group working behind us over here, and
yeah, they're. This is our midday fundamentals class we have working back here. This is basic class. We go over some grappling and some striking in it. It's good for beginners to come in and get some work in. It helps them feel not so uncomfortable. Right, it builds some comfort. You know.
is this an everyday or is this like a Friday?
We have fundamentals. We have a fundamentals class. Let me rephrase that. A lot of our classes are fundamentals, okay? But this is a fundamental class where we do mix, some grappling in with some striking. But our 615 jiu-jitsu classes all throughout the week, they're all fundamental level, entry-level jiu-jitsu classes. But we do have intermediate classes now. And as we grow and as, our students progress, our members progress, you're going to start seeing more and more advanced classes and things like that. It's a process. We're a brand new school. We're still just over a year old.
Yeah, that's in the grand scheme of things. I mean, in longevity, that's
we're in our infancy right now.
Yeah,
but the doors are open.
Absolutely.
You know what I mean? After a year, we've got the bills paid, so we're good to go.
Well, y'all are doing a great job.
Thank you.
And when it does come to small business, I think most small businesses close the door within the first 6 months.
We've made it this far. Let's I know the government's not helping right now with some of the stuff they're putting out, but thank God I live where we live. We have not only the community that we built here at Condition 1 really supports us, but the community in general up here in Montgomery County, in this Spring Woodlands area, Oak Ridge area, they really support us, and we really appreciate it.
It's just a great area. It's one of the fastest growing areas in the state of Texas.
Yeah. This location here is right off Rayford, and at 5:30 in the afternoon, it's hard to get down Rayford. Right? So we have people that walk in a few minutes late for class all the time because it's so busy.
I think the last time I was here, I had to leave. I had to go pick Peyton up, and when I left, it took me a little bit of time to get back to 45. Mm-hmm. But hey, that's great traffic coming across y'all's business. I mean, you're right here. I mean, this is a thoroughway that probably 100,000 people pass through here a day. Probably.
I'm not sure what the count is. We looked at it at one time, but it was pretty high. I know there's a lot of people that pass right up there, 2 or 3 blocks west of us on 45.
One of the things that I like about Mainstream, look at Bruce Buffer, mm-hmm. Joe Rogan, some of these people that aren't fighters, but they've really done a huge, like Bruce is big time about, I think he's 67 or he's up there in age, but the guy's in phenomenal shape, and he points it to his jiu-jitsu training, mm-hmm. and he trains all the time. Right.
Well, that's one of the things that I love about jiu-jitsu is I have had several injuries, several surgeries through the years, especially training in another system that really didn't understand how to train people, right? They don't.
Yeah.
They get people hurt. It's all about being violence and just I see red, bro, just go. And that's just not – you can't train like that all the time and learn something, right? You're not – If that's your go-to, just do something violent. Just go, bro. You're not learning anything, okay? And you're going to get tired real quick.
Adrenaline dump's real.
Yes,
very real.
Yes, it is. And that's gonna that's just going to exacerbate that anxiety and that needing of air, right? You need air. And whenever your body starts to shut down and your arms can't, you can't lift your arms up your head because you've been throwing straight punches for 1 minute, right? Then what? What happens when your hands drop down to your hips and that dude's teeing off on you, right? What happens if you're too tired to get the takedown?
You call timeout.
Yep, there is no timeout, right? I mean, you got to learn to be efficient. And that's what jiu-jitsu has taught me is how to be efficient.
The efficiency, and I don't know if I think I sent you the video. Talk about efficiency. There was this 265-pound bodybuilder and a 165-pound black belt jiu-jitsu guy at some gym in California. Mm-hmm. And the guy called into a radio station because they were interviewing the jiu-jitsu guy, and he said, I'm 265 pounds solid muscle. I can beat everybody. Yada, yada, yada. So he said, okay, well, come to the gym.
Yeah.
It was, number one, you want to tip your hat to this 165-pound guy that put on a complete clinic. but he was trained and methodical in everything he did. He did not waste energy with any unnecessary movements.
Nope.
Everything was thoughtful and purposed out. We can go back to talking about when we talk about safety, getting picked on and bullied on. That those two college football players that were in the bathroom.
Oh, I love that video. That video
Was that
right
amazing?
there. That video right there made it. That speaks volumes, right? That's that ego. Those two football players from OU, yeah, Boomer, went in there.
We're from Texas. We
Yeah.
got a little bit of a
Yeah, well, they went in there and they literally started a fight with two kids, right, with two young men. I guess one of their dads happens to own an MMA gym there in Oklahoma. Look, Oklahoma wrestling is no joke, right?
Yeah.
Oklahoma State's won national championships one after the other, right? And these kids' parents had an MMA gym, and I can't remember the guy's name. He played at OU, but anyway, you see it. You see the guy bleeding, which means he was touched first. They're still sitting, and then he pushes him again, and that's whenever it's like, okay, now you've made physical contact with me. Now, and you see what happens. Look what happens. They got the takedown, got them into a position that they controlled,
Yeah.
and wore them boys out.
It was it's one. I don't want to say for the little guys, but that was one for the people that get picked on. And it showed what a bully, who's just big, and pushes guys around on a football field.
Mm-hmm.
When you come to his world, they're just like eating a sandwich.
Yeah.
it's just another day on the mats.
Take them to those dark places that we talk about.
Yeah.
And that's what happened. They got put in a position they couldn't. They were fighting gravity and a fighter. A fighter.
Do you remember this? This has been years ago. This will kind of tell our age a little bit. Remember when Fear Factor first came out and Rogan was just starting the UFC, but they would show some of his training videos. And on Fear Factor one day, they had like all these athletes, and this guy tries to pick a fight with Joe Rogan and comes at him, and I'm thinking, you don't want to do that. You do not want to do
the
that.
guy's a multiple. He's a multiple black belt in different systems.
But
I think
he's been
10th planet black belt. He's a Machado black belt. And his Taekwondo competed in it. I don't recommend somebody go out and train strictly Taekwondo for self-defense, but the dude's dangerous. That's it. He's dangerous, right? Once you start training jiu-jitsu and you start training,
and he never claims to be.
No,
that's what I
because you
also
don't
think
have
about
to.
it. Yeah,
you don't have to. It doesn't matter. I was hearing somebody talk about that the other day. Oh, Matt was talking about that the other day. He talked about it yesterday because we had an assessment and promotions yesterday, and he goes, he was actually teaching the kids class, and he told them, the parents were there, so that's why he was talking to them this way. He's like, you be nice to people. Be nice to people, because Matt just said it. I'm a skilled fighter. I've been fighting my whole life. That's what I do. I don't have to be mean to people. It's so funny how whenever that happens when you start training, that kind of, it's just removed from you. I haven't been in a street altercation since I started martial arts. I've been seriously training in martial arts since 2006, something like that.
yeah.
So it's
And let that really be a testament right there. If trouble always finds you, there's a
right.
There's a factor there.
There's a common denominator there, right?
Yeah.
Right. And for me, whenever I started training, that obsession, for some reason, that weird, negative obsession I had to always, I don't know, I was drunk too. So, but that ego was just, look, I don't have to anymore. Right.
Get that ego gone and removed.
It's training.
It's training.
It's training. You get in here on the mats and you sweat, you work, and you learn how to protect yourself and your family, and those obsessions are just removed.
Yeah. And say somebody's watching, they're listening, they're saying, hey, look, I've had this desire. There are a lot of people that don't go to the gyms. There are a lot of people that don't go to the track. There are a lot of people that don't go do things because they're at the infancy and they're starting. Y'all also offer one-on-one training.
Oh, absolutely.
To where if somebody is like, well, I don't want to get around people and be embarrassed or look like I don't know anything, you can say, hey, let's let's train one-on-one and get you to a position, to a place where you're more comfortable being around a group setting. So y'all do work with people one-on-one.
Yes, we do, and we, we will bring people in, and I may do a private session, Matt may do a private session with somebody. Really, he's filling up right now. So if you're really looking for some private training, Matt Smith is filling up, Katie McCleary's filling up, all of our other instructors are filling up. So if that's something you're looking for, let them know. But yes, there is some value in coming in, if you feel you need to, but what I don't want to do in private training, if it's somebody who is going to join, is I don't want them strictly doing private training all the time. I want them working with different people of different sizes, of different physical ability.
That's a good point.
I want them training with people because the opponent or the attacker you may be dealing with on the street, they're not gonna be the same size as the person that you're training with one-on-one all the time, right? You need to have those different body styles, the different athleticisms. You need to have that. You need to feel that in your training, and that's a great point right there that I think needs to be brought up. If you are not training at an academy that has an opponent who is actively resisting you, you need to move. You need to go somewhere else. I've seen these videos of like choke defenses and just other defenses where whatever it may be, when they're drilling, you see them maybe defend the choke, or maybe it's not, or maybe it's a push, maybe it's just some type of attack. But that person, that attacker during those drills is sitting there and just letting you go through some choreographed thing while they just stand there. You grab them on the shoulder and throw 50 knees. What is that teaching people? What happens when that person on the street doesn't do that or does something different and goes off script? Then it's like, oh shit.
Yeah.
Wait,
no, you're supposed to
you're not
move.
supposed to do that. You're supposed to sit here and let me knee you in the face 50 times. That's not going to happen. Okay? Nobody's going to sit there and just let you do that shit, especially if they are a nefarious actor, right? If they plan on doing you harm. And that's where jiu-jitsu really plays a critical role, or grappling in general, because when you're rolling and you're sparring on the ground, you have instant feedback, right? You know instantly when you didn't do something right. You know instantly when you did do something right, right? And you're feeling that force. You're feeling it, right? That is so overlooked in training, is the feeling of someone opposing you, right? They're trying to impose their will on you. You're trying to impose your will on them, okay? And somewhere in that relationship, somewhere in that action, in that engagement, that's where things are getting worked out. That's where learning occurs, and that's where growth occurs.
Yeah.
Okay? That's it.
Yeah, we don't get our learning from video games and from online videos. It's got to be hands-on training.
It has to be hands-on training, and the training has got to have a resisting opponent. I see so much of that out there. So much, so many of these systems or these academies out there. And look, everything has value, right? At least they're getting fit. But when these organizations are strictly talking about, well, self-defense and this is what you do, but I mean, it looks really cool on video. But if you really watch the video and you watch the person in the video, they're allowing the person to just do whatever they want while they stand there and go through the motions.
There is a video I'm going to send you, and I promise you're going to laugh. You may have seen it. There's
probably
a guy. He's got a knife, and he's like, "Okay, come at me with the knife." He goes, "Now hold your hand up here." And when he goes to grab his hand, he goes, "No, keep your hand up there." And he goes, he's like, "No, keep your hand up here." Nobody's going to come at you the same way every single time.
No, and knife defense is there's so many fantasies out there when it comes to knife. Somebody pulls a knife on me, if I get away, I'm out of there. I'm not sticking around for that.
No.
Or if I have a higher level of force, which generally is the case. Okay, you pull a knife on me, and I know there's a 21-foot rule and all that. I know about that, right?
Are you the one that sent me yesterday the new Supreme Court ruling, ruled 6-3?
No.
About constitutional carry?
No, I didn't.
I'll send it to you.
Yeah, let me see it.
They have ruled gun permits are unconstitutional. License to carry is unconstitutional. That you are allowed to carry on you. I'm not sure, and they have ruled it. They're trying to change it at the state levels, but Texas is going to adopt. Guess who's trying to adopt it against the state levels? New York, Connecticut, California, Seattle, or Washington. But when you talk about that force, and in some classes I've sat in and some training I've had, deadly force is the last resort, not the first resort.
Absolutely.
And I think so many people think, well, have a gun on me, I'll be okay. What if they're not trying to kill you? Then what?
Yeah. How do you make that determination, though?
That's the hard thing. If somebody has the gall enough to punch me in the face, well, if I do fall on the ground, who's to say they're not going to curb stomp me?
Right.
So,
because that can always happen too, right? I mean, once you don't know that person's state of mind.
Yeah.
You don't know if they're high, if they're drunk. You don't know. They could. That's a great point. I mean, they could physically harm you, and having a higher level of force is we are big proponents for that, right? We'll even talk about that in our training. Here, you get them to this position, now you may be able to access your higher level of force. We talk about that in class. And we talked about going back to knife. Somebody pulls a knife on me, I'm gone. Right? I will. It's funny. Our CrossFit coach, Nick Gonzalez, and he's a phenomenal jiu-jitsu practitioner, phenomenal coach. The other day we were talking about knife because we've worked a little bit of knife, and he goes, somebody pulls a knife on me, I will sit there and walk around my car for 30 minutes.
Yeah.
And just they go this way, I go that way. They go this way, they go that. Because you don't have to deal with it, right? And if I can get away, I can get away. And I understand that there's a time and space deal too there with knife, and I understand the 21-foot rule. But I honestly believe that if you have to deal with a knife, you better be able to control a limb. You better be able to control that limb that weapon is attached to. I don't think that you are going to be able to really control that limb if you're focused on striking solely to defend a knife. I don't think that's going to happen. Somebody pulls a knife, you got to go. You either get out or get space, get to the other side of the car, find something else. You have to exhaust every other option before you try to go hand to hand with someone with a knife, right? Hand to knife, whatever. You better have exhausted all your resources at that point, right? And it has to be you have no other choice. If you're going to close that distance and get inside and try to control that limb, you better have exhausted all your other choices.
Walk away.
Walk away.
Get away.
Walk away.
Get away.
Yep.
Think how many people would still be breathing and walking around on the face of this earth if they just would have learned to walk away.
Yeah. Well, there's a video out, and this was, I don't know, last year I think it came out, of a group of guys, military-age men, walking out of a bar somewhere. Looked like at a outdoor mall or something. And, you see all the posturing. There are two groups of guys throwing their hands up at one another, ego-driven. And, excuse me. One of the smaller guys from the other group pulled out an edge weapon, pulled out a knife. Well, sure enough, one of the guys from the opposing group throws his hands up. Like, I ain't worried about some knife. The guy walks over real quick, hits him in the neck with it, and you watch it. He's out in 6 seconds. He's dead. And he's got blood pouring out of his neck. It's draining down his body. You see him go limp. And there's no saving that guy. There's no surgeon that's going to be on the scene in time. You're done. You're not going to be able to apply enough pressure to that wound to stop that bleeding, right? That guy is dead. All over what? You had 40 feet between you at one point, You could have easily gotten in your vehicle and got away, walked away, but that's not what happened now. And I don't know who that guy was, but now there's a mom or a dad who lost a son, right? There could be a son or a daughter who lost a dad. We have no idea, but that's the kind of situation that you need that people should be avoiding, but they don't.
Yeah. Right?
People don't do that.
I'm tough.
Yeah, that's a lot of it.
Tough guy syndrome has gotten a lot of people. Look at both ends of that. Tough guy syndrome. One guy, if he got caught, he's in jail the rest of his life. Mm-hmm. One guy's dead. Who's tough?
Right. There's no winners in that.
There's no winners.
Right? Nobody's going to win in those situations. Even in a fight out there, somebody could go to the hospital, somebody could go to jail.
We talked about this a couple weeks ago, just here in Huffman. We had a situation where a guy rammed through a guy's property with a golf cart and tried to run him over, and he defended himself. Those are instances when you are on your castle. We have the castle doctrine, the castle law. When you are on your property and somebody comes to physically hurt you, you have every right to protect yourself. But when you're out in public and somebody threatens to hurt you, say, hey, man, okay, I'm out of here, man. Have a good one. See ya. I don't care what he calls me, and if I'm with my daughter, whatever I can do to make sure she's safe and I'm safe, what good am I going to do to protect her if I have to be the tough guy and daddy's laying on the ground bleeding out?
Right.
Nobody wins in that situation.
Where are your priorities?
Yeah.
Where are your priorities? My priorities are in my home with, my wife, my kids. That's my priority.
That's your universe.
Yeah.
And I've used that saying that you have said so many times, that universe you created.
Yep.
But we're sitting in the universe that UNTA created.
Yeah, it's pretty. I like this one. And that's another. And my students, right? I mean, our members here that we built this community, and that's kind of where our focus is, and our focus is to combat, that type of mindset.
Yeah.
Right? Because you don't have to have that kind of mindset, and there's some peace involved with that too, right? Not only is there some peace with knowing you had the skills, right? But there's also some peace with, hey, I got a higher calling somewhere else.
Yeah.
Right? It helps you focus on those other things. That's what training has done, right? It helps me focus on the things that are important in life. It's removed that ego to where I don't have to focus on that. I can focus on, the things that are important. And I got that through training. I got that through being uncomfortable on the mats and growing from adversity, right?
And when we get into training mode and you really hit somebody that is in the position, and I'll kind of put myself in this mix. I've had a desire to get back to doing some training. Mm-hmm. Jiu-jitsu is worlds away from boxing, worlds away. Yeah. But I can tell you, years being removed from boxing, I can be playing around with some guys and they throw their hands up and I realize you've never thrown a punch before in your life.
Yeah. I love it when you see the guys who
throw their shoulder out.
I mean, I don't say love seeing it, but I see it and I can identify it. Now, whenever you see guys who are, probably ego-driven guys or individuals, and they step into they step in the wrong fighting stance. That tells me right there, it's like, or they're flat-footed. They step in, they get into some modified stance. They're flat-footed. They step into they're right-handed, but they've got the right foot forward. It's little things like that you see, out there, and you see that in untrained individuals.
And you can say this from a very, very personal standpoint, but one of my hesitations, and you've worked through it, multiple back surgeries.
Yes.
And I have neuropathy, don't have to get into all my hurts,
right.
But I have some real limitations. You can still train.
Yeah.
And even if I can only, this is just my thought process, even if I can come train and I can only pertain 50% of what's going on, guess what? I'm 50% further than I was. Mm-hmm. And that's been like my pushing factor, like my desire to I need to get back into not only will I benefit health-wise, not only will my body benefit the stretching and the but I'll also benefit in a real-world situation. But my daughter may start dating, and I may have to throw hand. No, I'm kidding.
Well, that's going back to what we were talking about earlier. When I've been through some bad trainings before, right? Where people do get injured. What I've learned, especially with Condition 1 here, is you can still train at a very high resistance level with jiu-jitsu and not get injured. And you still have that immediate, that instant feedback, right? You still have that. And that's valuable, that you can go out and you can still be really effective no matter how old you are, injuries you have. I mean, I've had back surgeries, knee surgeries, elbow surgeries, all kinds of surgeries.
Heck, your hip was cracked when we first started recording.
And the Marine, the Marine Corps really messed up my back. And the thing is, I found that if I am stagnant with these injuries, with these old, decrepit old man injuries I have, it gets worse.
Yeah.
I feel they feel worse. I have to be active, or I'm more uncomfortable physically. So whenever I am active and I keep my weight down and I'm able to train, it's like you said, the stretching and the staying mobile, that helps. But the thing that's so beautiful about grappling and jiu-jitsu is like I said, you could train it at a very high resistance level from your opponent. And because you're so tactile, because you're feeling that relationship between the push, the pull, where do I have space, where do I not have space, you're still getting a lot out of it, right? You're still getting, better every day, and you don't have to get injured doing it.
Yeah.
I mean, now injuries happen in training. They happen, right? But I've found with jiu-jitsu, especially whenever you get more experience and the people that you train with and roll with are more experienced, then you really start to see the injuries start to go away, right? Because they know that there's a relationship. But look, and Matt always says this: if you break your toys, you can't play with them, right? Right? Don't break your partner.
Yeah.
Work with your partner, okay? You'll be able to feel what resistance level they want to go at.
And you probably know when that elbow is going to pop.
Yeah, absolutely. You know, and look, there is tapping is not losing. Tapping is learning. Okay? And that's one of the things that we want people to understand is that if you tap, right? Learn from it.
Yeah, we're not BJ Penn. He was famous for never tapping.
I mean, that's the thing is, again, once that ego's involved, it's like, okay, bam, tap. I showed you a video earlier where I was tapped.
Yeah.
That I was in that dark place that we talked about.
And watching Matt move, he's so fluid.
Yeah, he's a killer.
And he just looks like it's just another day at the office.
It is.
This is his office. This is.
Look, it really is. Okay, and I can't wait for you to have him on because he's a phenomenal human being. But it is his universe. I mean, he comes and teaches. He takes care of his kids. He teaches jiu-jitsu. He goes home and studies jiu-jitsu, figures out how to get better at jiu-jitsu, right? And that's all he's done his whole life. So, is train and teach people and coach people to get better at jiu-jitsu and fighting. And, you see it. You see it in the way he moves. You see it in the way his demeanor.
Would you recommend I know y'all have the CrossFit Center here as well. So if somebody's going to get into the position, they want to start training, do they need to do some other form of cardio, or is that solely? You can
look, our CrossFit program is phenomenal. Nick Gonzalez is phenomenal CrossFit coach. He knows how the body works. He knows how to teach lifting the proper way, right? We're not going to get people in here and show them 5 minutes of how to do some kind of power clean and oh, you're good, high five, and now you're repping it 20 times. That's not the way he does things here, right? He really takes his time to teach people how to do the proper lifts, make sure they're doing it safely before they'll put them in some high repetition lift, right?
And that's you said it, Joe. The sports medicine side of things. Remember when we were in high school, our coaches had one thing: heavyweight and lift.
Yeah,
that's just all it was. Now the high school football programs, the lifting coaches they have, it's a science.
It's a science to it.
So you're not only going to be benefiting, get the health benefits, you're going to be doing it correctly.
Yes.
Because take it from somebody that lifted wrong for years. I used to deadlift in high school. None of us used our legs. We all used all back. And when you look, and it's what's that old, remember The More You Know that would be on TV all the time? The more you know. And so when you get in here, not only do you have the tools here to teach you to be confident, know when to walk away, know how to handle your situation, but you also have it on the second side. Somebody says, well, hey, I want to get my cardio built up first. Well, great. We have coaches here at Condition One that can walk you through on lifting properly, taking the right amount of time for cardio, resting the right amount of time. Meal plans. Eating is probably
70%.
Yeah, eating, I was going to say 60-70% of it.
Yep.
And if you're not eating right, McDonald's is not going to benefit you in the long run.
No.
You're never. But when you're putting that effort in, it's easier to control what goes in your mouth when you're putting that work in.
Right. exactly right. You can eat a little bit more whenever
We've
when
all
you're
sat at
burning
home.
1,000
We've all
calories.
sat at home eating Doritos, going, "Well, Monday I'm going to start Monday."
You know, CrossFit's a great program. We love it. You know, we love CrossFit. Nick's a great coach. It's a supplemental program to what we do here. You know, and there are people out there that are just looking for CrossFit, right? And if they want to do CrossFit and they want to do one of our MMA programs or martial arts programs, that's fine. They are separate programs, but you're going to get in shape. You're going to improve your physical fitness here, regardless of what program you do. Okay, if you're out here on the mats doing jiu-jitsu, you're going to improve your physical fitness. If you're here doing Muay Thai, you're going to improve your physical fitness, right? Muay Thai is a gasser too, especially the way Coach Katie runs that class, right? I mean, she knows she's a fighter, so she knows what it takes.
Was she the one doing the videos, showing how to throw knees and get people
Yes.
in the position?
Yeah, she's phenomenal.
You can tell
Yes.
the way that she moves that she knows exactly what
Yeah.
she's doing. And you hit something, Joe. If anybody's coming for either one, y'all have separate facilities. So if you're coming just for CrossFit, y'all have y'all's own area.
Oh yeah, we have 3 different training areas here.
So they're not. If you're wanting to come and get that training, you're not going to be interfering, and there's not going to be a mixture between the two. There's separate areas where you can go get your training. Jiu-jitsu's going on over here. So y'all have a large enough facility. What, 4,500 square feet?
4,500 square feet, and we run multiple classes at one time. And honestly, the way we're growing right now, we are probably going to have to be adding more classes. Yeah, but thank God
It's a great
I'm grateful
problem to
I'm grateful that we have the space to do it in, right? We've got a CrossFit area back there with power racks and bumper plates, and we went ahead and went with the Aerodynes bikes. Those are horrible.
Yes.
They are really bad. They work.
They work.
But they're a gasser. They're gonna get you in shape. We also have the bag class, right? We have a bag class called Heavy Hitter, which we incorporate. It's a combative, striking fitness class, but we incorporate kettlebells, box jumps, plyometric work, isometric work. We apply all that to that class too, but that comes with your martial arts membership. That's like an add-on. And if you join CrossFit, that comes with that class too, right? So we've got a fitness side of the house, and we've got a martial arts side of the house, right? We have let me rephrase that. We have a fitness side of the house, and we have a combative arts side of the house, right? I don't want to say martial arts because I want to make sure that we teach combative arts, right? We teach jiu-jitsu, we teach Muay Thai, and we apply those disciplines to self-defense. When me and Matt first talked and sat down and we were coming up with how we were going to run the programs here and how we were going to do things, we were both sitting there, and Matt asked me a really interesting question. He asked, what would be the best system, so to speak, for self-defense? And it was easy for me right off the bat. MMA applied to self-defense with weapons incorporated somehow, right? With either making space for your own higher level of force or dealing with some type of higher level of force that may be presented in an engagement, right? Yeah. And that is the best, in my mind, and Matt's as well, is the best system, if you were going to call it such, for self-defense. There's a reason why you see those guys with good head position up against the cage, tying up the arms with maybe an inside tie or elbow tie somewhere. It's because they're not getting hit there, right? They're safe for a moment in time. And then you could work on improving your position, inside position, maybe you're striking, from those close range positions or clinches. It's about controlling those and then improving your position. If you need to separate and throw bombs, but do it on your terms.
Yeah.
Right? Not on theirs, right?
Let's take a break, but
Sure.
I like that your terms.
Mm-hmm.